What's up, everybody? CJ here with Viewrail, and I'm going to show you a live install of what it looks like to do DriveTite cable railing. DriveTite is our components and cable-based railing system. What that means is we utilize already existing posts and structures, and we send you the components and the cable to install. So this saves you some money. All you're really buying from us is components and cable. This is really great for doing a remodel or a renovation on an existing structure like these box posts. So a lot of decks are built with these box posts, and there will be even just some wood spindles that are in between. And so actually, if you just look right down here, you'll see we already did that section. That's going to be what this entire area looks like. So it's a great way to take some more rustic, traditional post and handrails, but really modernize them with cable railing, and it'll make a really great look. So I'm here on this back deck. We've been renovating it. We sanded it, we restained it, and now what we're doing is we're just installing DriveTite. So the very first step when you're going to be installing DriveTite is making sure that your posts and your handrail are securely mounted. This post is fascia mounted, meaning it's mounted to the side. This is a 4x4 post that has been on this deck for 3 years. It had been stained, so I know it's a good post. It's shrank a little bit over time, so it's down to about 3 1/4 of an inch. As most of you know, 4x4s aren't exactly 4 inches by 4 inches. They're about 3 5/8 by 3 5/8. So this has shrank over time, but I've adjusted for it. What I've done here is I've put painter's tape. I'm going to pre-drill my holes that my screws are going to go into, and I've marked my center. I've started my very first point. You have to drill these holes 3 1/8 inches apart. That 3 1/8 inch is to, it accounts for the spreading of the cables when they're tensioned, that it doesn't exceed 4 inches. So that 4-inch rule is, it's part of what the International Residential Building Code requires for safety for children. So kids can't pass through, or they can't fall through any of the railings. So we've accounted for that to make sure that your children are safe. So what I've done is I've marked my center, and when we send DriveTite to you, it all comes in a packet like this. All 6 of the components that you're going to use are right here. So a quick tip, I use a speed square. I found where my center point is. I put painter's tape down to make sure that I wouldn't be marking on the actual stain that I have down. The last thing I would want to do is to make unnecessary marks on my finalized stain. So what I did, you may know this trick. If you have a speed square, I found my center right here, 1 3/4, and there's these notches that are right here in your speed square. I just put my Sharpie right here, and you can just hold it flush and drag it down, and it creates a nice center line that's going to go down the entirety of your post. When we ship out your DriveTite installation kit, some of the things that are going to come in it are cable cutters, crimpers, and this DriveTite wrench. This DriveTite wrench has some parts that are cut out. This is for tensioning your components. The other thing is these 2 holes are 3 1/8 inches apart. So once you draw your line on center, the very next thing you want to do is measure down 3 1/8 inch with your tape measure, which I've already done. Come down here, and you're going to make your first mark, which I've done right here. And then you're going to come right down here. You're going to make your next mark. hold it, and just let it swing down. I'm going to make my next mark right in the center, hold it, let it swing down. Okay, and I'm just going to do that all the way down the entire post. For the sake of time, I'm not going to make marks on I'm not going to make all 10 marks. I'm just going to make these 4. The next thing that you're going to want to do is you're going to want to pick up your power drill. You're going to drill 2 inches into your post. That 2 inches accommodates for the threading that's going to be on your DriveTite screw. This DriveTite screw is it takes a T30 bit, which we send out to you, and it has a specially made head that actually fits right into the component, allows it to go right through. So if you have some T30 bits that you want to put in your impact driver laying around the house, they're probably not going to work unless you have an extension like I do, but that's why we take care of it by sending you some T30 bits. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pre-drill my very first hole. So I'm just going to come up here. Another tip, measure 2 inches down with painter's tape and then make that mark. It's going to keep it consistent every time when you're drilling in. So I'm going to go ahead and I've pre-drilled my first hole. The very next step that you're going to do is you're going to take your DriveTite receiver, which is the smaller one. You're going to take your DriveTite washer. You're going to put the washer on the side that is not threaded. So you have a side that's flush and a side that's threaded. You want to make sure that you're taking the side that's flush, put it against the washer, take your DriveTite screw, put it in, go ahead, put it right up to the hole. Take your impact driver with your T30 bit and go ahead and make sure you're holding it straight. Good to go, just like that. One of the common mistakes that you'll do is what I just did. You need to make sure that you remove this before you actually tension it all the way. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and take that off. And I'll just put it right back in. All right. So that's pretty much step 1 for getting your hardware mounted. The receiving end of my DriveTite component kit is securely installed. My very next step, I'm going to take my turnbuckler. That's this. The turnbuckler, what that is for is we countersink it, so you want to make sure that when you're actually tightening it, you're turning it to the left, not the right. So it's counterintuitive because it's countersunk. This is part of what tensions and pulls the cable and makes sure that it's taut. It's also what receives the threaded crimp fitting. If you've seen any of our other cable installation series, our signature cable, our express cable, anything like that, we use these threaded crimp fittings. So this is what receives it and allows it to tighten and tension. I'm going to go ahead and remove this threaded crimp fitting, and I'm going to attach it to this cable, which I'm going to go ahead and cut. I have measured out my run of cable. My run of cable is 172.5 inches. So I'm going to be utilizing this middle post as a pass-through post. The other thing that I'm going to be doing is this area is 84.75 of an inch. This is too long for cable to run through without having something in the middle to help it pass through. Cable can only travel 48 inches maximum, so 4 feet, before it needs some kind of support. It's going to sag over time. It's going to lose its tension if you exceed that 48-inch rule. So I'm gonna have some stainless steel pass-through posts that are gonna be right here, that are gonna come up here. That's gonna be in a future video. We offer that, but for the sake of today, I'm focusing just on the installation of our hardware for level pass-through posts. So my total area that I need to account for the cable is 172.5 inches. Now I need to subtract 2 7/8 inches off of that to account for the components. So what I'm left with is 169 5/8 inches. So I've already marked that. My mark is right here. I have my cable running down. I'm gonna grab these cable cutters. These come with your installation kit. When installing DriveTite or any of our railing systems, it's always best to be doing this with a partner. It makes the job easier. However, if you don't, you'll find the areas that are flat, like this, that are level, are your friend. Really helps when it comes to even like cutting this cable. I can use this just for leverage. Makes it a whole lot easier. Another tip when you're installing cable, put it in a 5-gallon bucket. Cable has a tendency to, when you open it, it just runs wild. Because it's all tightly spooled, and when you make that initial first cut, it all wants to unspool and it kind of explodes. So speaking from experience, having had cable literally run all over the job site, put it in a 5-gallon bucket. So I'm going to grab my threaded crimp fitting, and I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put it on, and I'm going to put it in our crimper. We send this crimper to you. A tip with our threaded crimp fitting, with our crimper, I mean, is when we send it to you, it comes in the box, and it is, both of the arms are compressed like this. It is really difficult to crimp with arms this short. You want to make sure you extend them. So just give them a quarter turn, pull them down, turn them back a quarter turn. So I'm going to put the threaded crimp fitting in. This is a 10mm crimper. And I'm going to start right here towards the back just to make sure that it doesn't flare out when I crimp it. I'll show you what that looks like. And I'm just going to push it down once and twice. Crimp it twice. The reason why you want to crimp it twice is you want to make sure that it is snug. You'll know that you have done a good job crimping when you see the number 10 on the crimper. That 10 is indented inside of that crimper, and when you see the number 10, you'll know that you've successfully crimped your threaded crimp fitting on. So the next thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to grab my DriveTite cover. This is what covers over all of the components. So like the receiver, the cover has a threaded side and a flush side. I want to make sure the side that is flush is what goes onto the cable, because the side that's threaded is going to be what threads on these components. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put the buckler on. Remember, it's countersunk, and I'm going to turn it to the left. About 3 turns. I'm going to go ahead and bring it up. And just turn it by hand. 1 rotation. I'm going to grab this DriveTite wrench that we send you. This one right here in the middle, or these ones on the side, whichever one are more comfortable for you. These are going to be what you use to tighten this into place. So I'm just going to go ahead and put this on here. And I'm gonna give it a few turns. Now I don't want to tighten it all the way, because remember, I'm running this through all the way to the other end. So I just want to make sure that this is sitting snug. It's not going to fall. Which it is. So that's all it takes to install the components. When it's all said and done, you're going to be left looking with a system that's kind of like this. So this is going to run all the way down, and that's DriveTite. It's secure into the post. I'm going to get working on the rest of these, but that's DriveTite in a nutshell. When you're done with an entire run, it's going to look like this over here. So this is what we're aiming for. Whenever you do DriveTite, you want to start your very first ones. You want to have top, middle, and bottom. What that does is, in the installation process, it keeps it to where your posts don't. If you start in the center, it's going to like bow inward. If you start at the top, by the end it's going to be bowing outward. So you want to have 1 point in the middle, 1 point in the top, 1 point in the bottom, and then you work from the middle outward. When you're tensioning your cable, make sure not to tension it without following the pattern, starting in the middle and then working outward. So this is what a completed system looks like. This is DriveTite. It's our cable and components-based railing system. It's great if you have existing structures like box posts and wood handrail. It really upgrades the look of your existing system without costing too much money. It's a great way to do cable railing for a home renovation and remodel. So if you haven't done so already, subscribe to us on YouTube. Follow us on Instagram and on Facebook. Keep up with us. We would love to see some of the projects that you guys are doing. Make sure that you tag us in your projects, and continue to stay tuned with us as we give you tips and tricks on what it looks like to install DriveTite and other railing systems in the future.